This bulletin proudly brought to you in association with Alex Campbell's Menswear.
Tonight on The South Today, with mask wearing compulsory in many areas, masks are becoming a marketing tool with one business rushed off its feet. Oamaru residents are being invited to a picnic at Forrester Park to take in the scenery as the place is earmarked for redevelopment. And a Dunedin cafe owner is pretty steamed up about the government's wage subsidy, saying one size doesn't fit all. Kia ora, good evening, I'm Sophie Morris. With the necessity of wearing masks in public due to COVID-19, one Dunedin company is leading the southern charge in printing masks for businesses. The Kaikorai Valley-based company dispatches about 10,000 face masks a week.
Who is the man behind the mask? In Dunedin, it's Challenge Marketing owner Adrian Hocking, whose business is distributing thousands of printed masks a week.
Face masks, can't keep up on them. It's kind of been the new, I suppose, drug of choice, so to speak. Obviously with level 3 mandatory face masks now at all levels, obviously schools as well. But the key thing we're finding with face masks is businesses putting their branding, putting their logo on them, because obviously they're out and about seeing clients, or customers are coming in as contact pickup, or coming into cafes, bars and restaurants, but also into retail premises, and it's good advertising as well.
With mask wearing mandatory in shops and many public areas, organisations have seen an opportunity to spend some of their marketing budget with the southern business. Hocking says they've had some organisations ordering thousands of masks to be printed, but he says it's also an effective tool for smaller businesses too.
We had a couple of big orders, had one potentially for about 20,000 face masks, and the good thing too is a lot of the small medium businesses that just need 8 or 10, we're supplying them as well, so there's no minimums, you can order one at a time, and really it's just a case of what you need for your business.
He says there are a few supply chain issues with New Zealand made masks, with stockists they deal with being out of stock until mid-October at the earliest. However, he says they have strong relationships with overseas manufacturers.
All of the New Zealand manufacturers we get stock from, they're out until late October and some November. So we're actually getting these ones at the moment out of Australia within 3 days, and these ones out of China within about 5 days on DHL. Yeah.
He says about 1,000 masks were sold on Monday alone, and the level of uptake has taken the firm by surprise. The business employs about 20 staff in Auckland, has about 4 in Dunedin, with a few people working from home. In Dunedin, The South Today.
3 former power pylons on islands in the Otago Harbour have been dismantled piece by piece. The ageing power lines and pylons have carried high voltage electricity across the harbour from Port Chalmers to Portobello for the past 60 years. Contractors and a helicopter worked to remove the towers on Quarantine and Goat Islands yesterday and today. Aurora Energy plans to undertake remediation planting where the towers were situated. The power lines have been replaced by 2 new submarine cables spanning the harbour floor. Waitaki District councillors are being invited to attend a picnic on a piece of scrubby council-owned land this Saturday. Boasting spectacular views, the property has previously been earmarked for development, but some locals have other suggestions for what to do with the land.
The Friends of Oamaru Harbour are inviting Waitaki District councillors to join them for a picnic this Saturday at one of their favourite spots at Forrester Heights near Oamaru's Cape Wanbrow. The council is planning a community consultation about what to do with the 2.5 hectare parcel of empty land and its stunning views, with developing it into a housing estate being high on the list. But picnic organiser Vicky Jane says people should consider alternatives, such as continuing the reforestation that's already underway.
Native tree planting, community engagement. You know, we see the notion of schools being involved, we see the notion of, a whole lot of different groups being involved in planting, in putting their hearts here a little.
She says if it became a park filled with native trees, it could function as a link for a track between Oamaru's harbour and Lookout Point on Tamar Street. And she understands that engineers are saying it could be a challenge to develop the land for housing.
The geotech reports here, it's not good land to build on. You have to sort of, pretty much scrape it clean and dig down to discover where the underrunners are before you can build here.
Saturday's picnic is set for noon, with the mayor and councillors invited to speak, and all attendees are encouraged to bring their own food and drink and wear face masks. In Oamaru, the South Today.
Winter has been harsh on first home buyers, with entry-level house prices rising at their fastest rate in 5 years. The latest quotable value statistics show that homes at the low end of New Zealand's property market increased by close on 4% this winter, a rate double either of the previous 2 winters. Quotable Value says Dunedin appears to have much more competition between first home buyers and investors than other major centres. But Quotable Value predicts house price rises will ease through factors such as government intervention and the prospect of interest rates increasing. A Dunedin cafe owner is saying the current wage subsidy is flawed. The wage subsidy is only available to businesses that have lost over 40% of income, with nothing on offer to businesses that have lost less.
Like many eateries, Columbus Coffee in Dunedin's Mitre 10 has been struggling over the last few weeks, with customer numbers restricted to 50 people when the cafe is actually capable of seating up to 3 times as many. But franchise owner Leo Rojas says most of his regulars have been understanding.
There's one beautiful thing about New Zealand: everyone get behind the cause and that they try to follow it. It's a very rarely customer that will get difficult, but we don't have many of them. I think customers are very committed. They come in, they have their meal, and they try to leave as quick as they can because they know that's their way to help.
Rojas says he tries to look after his staff and pays them more than the industry standard. But with less customers than usual, his employees are having to work reduced hours.
A normal employee will do 40 hours and they're doing 32 hours at the moment. And that affects them. So that is taking eventually about $200 out of their pockets every week.
Rojas says the government wage subsidy is flawed because it currently only helps out businesses that have lost more than 40% of income, with nothing on offer for businesses which have lost less.
My understanding of the wage subsidy is if I have lost 40% of my income, I could apply for a new wage subsidy. But in reality, you could be 39% away and they won't provide that, and 39% is already a killer for any business. Last week we were about 20% away from normal trade, but we cannot get any sort of support or anything like that because we're not 40%.
The wage subsidies on offer are only available in 2-week blocks, and businesses have to reapply each time, with the 3rd round of the wage subsidy closing next Thursday. In Dunedin, the South Today.
Still to come on the South Today. The annual Haast Whitebait Festival has been cancelled, and we begin a 2-part series looking at drug law reform. We'll see you after the break.
Risk of developing melanoma skin cancer, you owe it to yourself to have a mole map. Mole map is coming to your area. Phone today to make an appointment. It could save your life.
Set your clock forward this weekend for My Mate John's Daylight Savings. Spring has sprung and it's time to spruce up that tired old furniture. Time to see the friendly team at John's Furniture Warehouse, and time to save yourself heaps. Daylight savings on now at John's Furniture Warehouse, Stafford Street.
Where did you get that furniture from? Stafford Street. And my mate John. Every reason, every season, we're proud to dress the region. Alex Campbell Menswear, it fits.
A poorly maintained heat pump can lose up to 35% of its output. The Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner team are experts. Their specially developed chemical wash is totally biodegradable. Call Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner and get the job done by the professionals.
Sharpen up! My mate John sharpened his pencil this weekend. He's taken 19% off lamp and coffee tables and a whopping 50% off Optima beds. Plus there's tons more deals in store. So sharp, you'll cut yourself. No one beats John on price. Sharpen up! This weekend only at John's Furniture Warehouse, Stafford Street.
Where did you get that furniture from? Stafford Street. And my mate John.
Welcome back. The annual Haast Whitebait Festival has been cancelled for this year. The festival was scheduled to take place next Sunday, but organisers say it is no longer viable, with gatherings currently limited to no more than 100 people. Organisers have apologised to stall holders and also say the evening event could not go ahead, with the dance floor being out of bounds. Organisers have promised to try and come back bigger and better next year. A referendum into legalising recreational cannabis was narrowly defeated at last year's election. The New Zealand Drug Foundation is an organisation which advocates and aims to educate people about all drugs. Tonight we begin a two-part series looking at drug law reform, beginning with NZ Drug Foundation Chief Executive Sarah Helm.
A referendum into the legalisation of cannabis narrowly failed at last year's general election. Whereas some in society may have assumed it would be the end of the matter, it has sparked continued discussions about drug reform legislation.
We have had widespread public support for decriminalisation. I know that we lost the referendum. The referendum was on a very specific proposal, and that specific proposal was legalisation and a very specific model of that as well. We almost got half of the vote there. More people voted for that change than they voted for the government of the day, so that's still a lot of people. But we've had mass public support, 70% of people supporting decrim for a long time. About 40% of people who voted no support decriminalisation.
Sarah Helm has been the Chief Executive of the New Zealand Drug Foundation for about 8 months, and believes New Zealand is on the precipice of a societal shift in our approach to drug use, and she's pleased to be leading their team.
And I think what's been also really great is I feel like we're on the cusp of some kind of change, both in regards to change in regards to harm reduction service provision. We can see with drug checking being made available, but we want a whole lot more to be put in place. Through to law reform, even though we haven't seen that actually take effect yet, notwithstanding the smaller change that happened to the Misuse of Drugs Act a couple of years ago now in regards to discretion. We're yet to see proper law reform take place. But that feels like a matter of not if but when now, and so it's an exciting time to have picked up the reins and really enjoying the work.
part of their organisation's mandate is pushing for open conversations about drug use. Helms says their website, drugfoundation.org, focuses on how drugs affect people without a judgmental drugs are bad approach.
So we've really set about, or the team has really set about, trying to create a resource that's very neutral and evidence-based, and will pull people in and engage with them. So it's a website in its core, but also we're trying to build up a social presence so that we can communicate to and with people who use different substances all the time. And so, yeah, it's all based on evidence, based on research, and over time, I hope to continually improve that resource and make it more and more useful to people who use drugs.
Along with the rest of the world, New Zealand is battling the COVID-19 pandemic. Sarah Helms says the New Zealand Drug Foundation is currently educating drug users about COVID and vaccinations.
And so we sped that up. We are also concerned about vaccination rates among people who use drugs, and I've just come from a conversation about how we're going to get better information out that our full range of audiences will trust and engage with. Latest information actually shows that people who are engaged with AOD services, so people who are in treatment, about 14% of them are fully vaccinated as of a couple of weeks ago. It's very, very low. So we're quite concerned about that. That's obviously only one of our segments, but we are quite keen to get better information out there to people around getting vaccinated from sources that they trust.
One of the items at the top of her list is the Drug and Substance Checking Legislation Bill number 2, which is currently being discussed by the Health Select Committee. She says she's had many conversations with politicians across the Houses of Parliament, but says they all seem a bit trapped by history and perception.
I personally think, having engaged with a lot of MPs since I started in my job, there is actually really good support in Parliament as well. They're just hamstrung by their own concern around the political volatility of the issue, by the stigma, as the wonderful woman who leads Know Your Stuff talks about. She talks about the stigmatisation that the law has created itself, and that therefore politicians get caught up in perpetuating. And those things, and actually we've been talking about a myth that pervades, is that if we change the law, we're liberalising it and that will encourage use. Actually, for decades we've known, over decades of evidence have shown that convictions do nothing to deter use. They just really compound harm on people who are experiencing a lot of harm.
Sarah Helms says politicians need to be able to feel free to have open conversations about drug use without fear of stigma or even fear of public perception. In Dunedin, The South Today.
After the break on The South Today, a new boutique hotel is set to pop up in Wanaka, and we check out the weather.
A poorly maintained heat pump can lose up to 35% of its output. The Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner team are experts. Their specially developed chemical wash is totally biodegradable. Call Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner and get the job done by the professionals.
If you're at risk of developing melanoma skin cancer, you owe it to yourself to have a mole map. Mole map is coming to your area. Phone today to make an appointment. It could save your life.
Every reason, every season, we're proud to dress the region. Alex Campbell Menswear, it fits.
MTF Finance can help you turn the key on your next vehicle with a loan made just for you. TCs and lending criteria apply.
Set your clock forward this weekend for my mate John's Daylight Savings. Spring has sprung and it's time to save yourself heaps.
And my mate John.
Welcome back. Work to prepare the site for the construction of a new $12.5 million boutique hotel in Wanaka has finally begun. It's been 4 years since the announcement that a luxury lodge would be built at the former mini golf course on Brownston Street. The development is to include a ground level cafe, a rooftop bistro and wine bar, 35 guest rooms and an internal guest courtyard. Construction will take close on a year, with hopes the hotel will be open late next year when borders might reopen. Now recapping tonight's top stories on the South Today. With mask wearing compulsory in many areas, masks are becoming a marketing tool, with one business rushed off its feet. Oamaru residents are being invited to a picnic at Forrester Park to take in the scenery as the place is earmarked for redevelopment. And a Dunedin cafe owner is pretty steamed up about the government's wage subsidy, saying one size does not fit all. Time now for a look at what's happening in tomorrow's ODT. Welcome, Jo.
Hi.
Hi.
Okay, we were at the scene of a dramatic rescue after the boat of two fishermen sunk off the coast of Papanui Beach this afternoon. A photographer has captured the action. A proposed private 60-berth motor park in Warrington is being opposed on cultural grounds, and the breaching lockdown by an Otago Boys High student looks set to seek an independent review as to how a pupil staying in lockdown in Auckland ended up in Dunedin. And breaking news, there seems to be a problem affecting supermarkets across the South Island, so there'll be more on that.
Okay, we'll stay tuned for tomorrow. Thank you, Jo. And time now for a look at the weather.
Tonight's weather proudly brought to you by Mole Map.
Beginning with the southern view, the recently closed Starters Bar in North Dunedin. Looking at the situation, fine for most places through the end of the week as westerly airflow largely misses southern New Zealand and confines itself to the Southern Ocean. To the southern towns, moderate westerlies, fine conditions and 16 degrees for the Catlins and Balclutha, 15 degrees for Lumsden, while Gore can expect some cloud and 15 degrees. To the Central Lakes, moderate northwesterlies and fine conditions for most areas with 19 degrees in Wanaka, 18 in Queenstown and 20 in Alexandra. Te Anau can expect moderate westerlies, a few showers and 14 degrees. To the northern towns, light easterlies and fine on the coast with 16 degrees in Timaru and Oamaru. Inland, moderate northwesterlies and fine conditions with 20 degrees in Twizel and 19 in Omarama. In Dunedin, fine and cool tonight with a low of 6. Sunny and mild tomorrow with moderate north to northeasterly winds. A high of 17 and a low of 9. Sunny periods and some high cloud on Friday. Still mild with fresh to strong westerly winds. Then northeasterlies developing later in the day. A high of 18 and a low of 8. And in Invercargill, fine and cool tonight with a low of 9. Fine tomorrow with sunny periods and some cloud with moderate to fresh westerly winds. A high of 15 and a low of 9. Strong winds and some showers early Friday, then clearing with sunny periods and westerly winds easing during the day. A high of 15 and a low of 8. That's all for our news this Wednesday. For the latest news from the southern region, head online to odt.co.nz or follow Channel 39 on Facebook and YouTube. Thanks for joining us. Ka kite anō.
This bulletin proudly brought to you in association with Alex Campbell's Menswear.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.